Namaste and Jai Hind. Welcome to yet another podcast by ANI podcast by Smita Prakash. Yet another version of the ANI podcast by Smita Prakash. From getting our news from newspapers to hearing this introduction on a daily, almost daily basis, the world of news and media has changed significantly. And at the midst of all of this change is our very own Kannadati, Smita Prakash. We're delighted to have her here with us again at the Mangaluru Lit Fest. I will start this conversation going back to the basics. Why a podcast? And you started this much before many others in your space even considered digital media as a serious place for a news journalist to be at. What made you start the podcast? And what was the first intention with which you thought, no, podcasting is the way to go?
Thank you, Surabhi. And thank you to the organizers to having me here once again. I would think that audiences in Mangaluru would be bored with me, but thank you all the same for having me over. About why the podcast, I've been asked many times about it, and frankly, Surabhi, I was also skeptical when the suggestion was made to me that, because frankly, for 30 years, I was managing a newsroom. And I just got tired of the noise of a newsroom. And I just felt that it's time for a younger person to take charge of a newsroom. And also the way news was being done was changing. And I felt that I need to relearn how news is happening. And all these debates were coming in, real-time reporting was becoming lesser, editorializing was happening on the channels, social media was booming. So I felt that I need to relearn a little bit. But you know how it is with us working women, we don't like to get off even during the process of learning, you want to be working at the same time. So the suggestion was made to do this because I've done interviews in the past and my style was this gentle, way of talking, which was losing out because I was told there's no space for your kind of interviews because you are smiling all the time. As if that was a negative, So I was told that you have to be aggressive and you have to talk like this and you have to be angering the other person to get a response. And it was not in my nature to do that. So I tried and I looked foolish, frankly, to do that. So I said, I can't go against my grain. So then they said that there is this medium, why don't you try this? So I watched a couple of podcasts which were done by Americans, and I felt that maybe it was time that we could do it. And there were podcasts in India too, but for a journalist to get into this, and after doing hard news for a long time, I felt that this is also something that I can explore. And I think once you, in our profession, you have to keep reinventing yourself, otherwise you're dead. It's over for you. Before long, there'll be somebody saying, Auntie Harja. That the trolls will come and tell you you're too old or you're too fat or you're too ugly to be on screen anymore. So you have to keep reinventing and do something which is part of your nature. You're true to your profession and your integrity, but at the same time holds the interest of the audience. So that's why podcast.
Fantastic. And what a list of audiences, what a list of people that she's had the opportunity to interview. From the External Affairs Minister to Madhuri Dixit, from spiritual leaders to politicians. The list is endless. Nowadays, when we think about podcasters, a lot of the information that comes out of it is advice on lifestyle, exercise, fitness. But serious policy and political conversations, in fact, sometimes when news has broken on your podcast, that is something that is only you are able to do in the country. Do you curate your speakers? How do you go about the process?
No, I don't curate the speakers. The questions are not decided beforehand. The guests are not decided, and the guests are not given questions beforehand, before anybody thinks that, this is curated in a particular manner. Yes, certain things, sure enough, that if I have a defense minister or if I have the external affairs minister, there are certain parameters that we work on, which is like if you're interviewing the foreign minister, I would generally keep it to policy matters. I would keep it to foreign relations. If I'm interviewing, say, Sadhguru, I could ask him anything from stress in modern day life to spiritualism or whatever. It's not curated. News has broken out, yes, that's true. Many times things have been said on the podcast which just got said, there was no plan, and yeah, you mentioned Madhuri Dixit. I remember I did, last year, I interviewed this yesteryear's actor called Aruna Irani. She was, and it was not planned or anything like that. We just started chatting and all that. And all of a sudden she said, it's the first time I'm telling you that I've been married to a person for 15 years and I've never told anybody that I was married. So I was like, okay, what do I do with this information? Where do I go with this story? And then she started telling me her story, that she was married to a married man. Her husband was already married to somebody, and that person was so unwell that he could not divorce her because it was against his ethics to do that. But he wanted to be with the woman he loved, which was Aruna Irani. But she did not have children. She did that sacrifice that I didn't want to bring up children, because she said, if I can speak a little bit in Hindi, she said, अगर मैं अपने बच्चों को पालूंगी, पोसूंगी, बड़ा करूंगी और वो पूछेंगे कि पापा कहाँ हैं, तो मैं क्या बोलूंगी उनको कि वो अपनी पत्नी के घर में है, तो फिर मैं कौन हूँ? She says, these are conflicts which I can have as a woman, that am I the other woman, am I the wife, am I the consort, am I the, whatever tags that are given, but I can't subject my children to it. So, as she was speaking, she said this and she started crying because she had to explain to her family, which didn't understand. And here I was and wondering, why is she telling me if she couldn't tell the world? But
Why? Why did she?
I don't know. I guess I have that agony aunt face or something, I don't know. But she felt she could trust me enough that I would not misuse that information. And she told me. There was also Beena Ramani, who I interviewed recently. Of course, people here may not know, but she was the prime witness in the Jessica Lal case. And, there was a movie made, Who Killed Jessica? I think all of you would have probably seen it or known about it. So she also said things in the podcast which she has never before said. And after she said it, she said, oh my God. I said, if you're not comfortable, I can delete it if you're feeling. So she said, my grandchildren, because she said she was she almost married Shammi Kapoor. She was in love with Shammi Kapoor all her life, but she had an arranged marriage. And then she fell in love with a third person. So she was in love simultaneously with 3 people and 3 men, and completely in love. And she said, if Radha could love Krishna like that and Krishna could love several women, so why not me? So either she saw herself as Radha or Krishna, I don't know. But in her mind, there was that logic. No, don't judge, Surabhi. You don't know how life's going to take you, which path. But she said this, and she wrote it in her book. She gave me that book, and I read it, and in that she also says, if you can love butterscotch ice cream and vanilla ice cream and strawberry ice cream, you can love 3 men also. And I found that fascinating, so I asked her the question. So after the shoot was over, she said, I gifted you the book, I didn't think you would read it. So I said, I have the bad habit of reading. But she said, now, my grandchildren will be reading and they'll say, what a hedonistic life you led. I said, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You thought it right at that moment that you were in love with Shami Kapoor, but life took you to another path of an arranged marriage. The arranged marriage was loveless and you fell in love with the third man who you didn't want to get married to because you wanted to continue being in a marriage. These are parts of life which go, and you've lived such a great life. So why would you be embarrassed about it? She thought about it and she said, yeah, I don't need to explain my life to another person. And she spoke about it. Similarly, there are many experiences which politicians have also said. There are some people who talk about it and then they come back to me and say, can you edit it out because my children are uncomfortable about speaking? In those cases, yes, I would do it.
As you can see, I was visibly uncomfortable even listening to that story. It challenges a lot of worldviews that I have been used to. And it begs that question. This is not just a conversation you're having with one person, but it does play in the minds of everybody who's speaking to you, that 1 million people are going to possibly watch and 1 million people are going to pass judgment in the form of comments, hateful comments, abuses, all of those things that everybody who puts themselves out in the media or in public today has to deal with, but a lot more women have to deal with.
Yeah.
Have you been conscious of that? Have you been at the receiving end of that? Why did you platform so-and-so? Why did you have a bias towards, you do have a samosa caucus as well, which everybody would be aware of, have some known faces in the new edition of the Khan Gang, that is what we would call them. But have you been conscious about who you're inviting not, who you're platforming not, whether it makes you comfortable not?
Yeah, certainly. If any journalist says to you that they are unbiased, then they are blatantly lying through their teeth, even if they are shining. There is a bias which is there in every journalist. But the thing with us is that we don't interview only people we like. What we like and we dislike, we leave at home before we get to work. Once we get to work, it is news that matters. It's the news maker that matters. So I keep that, at least a journalist who's trained in the pure form of journalism. We are supposed to keep our biases out. It's extremely difficult, especially in these days when you're seeing more and more journalists who are becoming storytellers and being asked to bring in their biases by their editors. So reporters are asked to do that. And we were trained to keep that out of our reporting. You train your mind, you work in silos. So the silo you take to work is of an unbiased person. But there is a bias. You put that on the side. So this is the pure form of journalism where you don't bring it. In today's day and age, that's changed. Everybody's biases are out there. And the reason they are doing that is because it's become such a crowded media platform. You have regional television, you have regional newspapers, you have national television, you have social media. So you're competing a lot.
For people's attention.
Yes.
And
so when you're competing so much, you have to be able to tell your story. So to be able to tell your story, some people feel that they need to sensationalize. To sensationalize, bring in your editorial judgment and say, oh, this one is, use language which is harsh against a person. When we were doing beat journalism, beat is like if I'm covering BJP office, then I'm doing beat journalism. So what did the BJP Karyakarta say? What did the BJP Neta say? What did the BJP person in the opposition say? What is everything to do with BJP? We do that. But then you keep yourself away from becoming part of the BJP culture. You can't do that. Because if you do that, then how are you different from a BJP worker? So that was necessary for beat journalism. So you have to guard. The same with the Congress or same with any political party. So as an editor, if I found that my BJP reporter or my AAP reporter or my DMK reporter is becoming too close to the political party, I will shift. Because that reporter is not able to see the negative at all, is only seeing the positive. So we are trained to do that, and especially in agency journalism. Podcast is a different thing altogether, and I have come into podcast after 35 years of doing journalism. So I'm in that luxury space where I will invite people I want to talk to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, but even in the social media space, and just to sort of tie back that conversation, the term Godi media is pro-establishment media.
You're doing this on purpose, just to bug me.
Well, let's just say the tables have turned. I'm the one asking Smita Prakash the questions today, not the other way around. So this is a unique opportunity that Mangalore Lit Fest has allowed for us. But yes, it is a very commonly used phrase, Godi media. And interestingly, Mansi, who's in the audience, I asked her, we had a conversation about this, which was that, has there ever been a media presence which has not had its own biases? And we spoke about this as well. I'd love for you to share that with the audience.
Yeah, so there's always been Godi media. Maybe it's called different names over the years.
If I may just insert, at that time it was just media. Now there are two types possibly. It's being identified, that's it. It was challenged.
No. It's always been there. They used to say lifafa journalism. Even in Pakistan, it's called lifafa journalism, which means lifafa diya, envelope is given, and you write as per the amount which is in the envelope. So it's okay. There were business journalists who were given pressure cookers, VCRs. Those things have happened. Yeah.
Vacations.
Yeah. So those medical journalists who got visits to Thailand, Maldives, Mauritius. What was that? That's not Godi or what? Godi is, sorry, this is Mangaluru. Godi is Godi Halwa, right? There's no Godi media here. Sorry. Godi is wheat for if you're watching it, North Indians who are watching it on social media. So, no, there's always been that kind of paid journalism where you can use different terminologies for it. It's always been there. The pressures, not that the BJP government, I know you're in the BJP, not that the BJP government doesn't put pressure, doesn't try to make Godis out of journalists. Of course, there are people, and it depends on how much you are able to resist sitting on the lap of the ruling party.
Because you called it out, I'll have to push back a little bit. But just to go back to that social media point and the compulsions of having to one-up each other to gain attention, there's been very interesting studies since 2025, since AI became an integral part of all of our daily lives. Everybody uses ChatGPT to write their tweets. LinkedIn is essentially ChatGPT of different persons, just, cut paste. So what gets missed out in all of this is authenticity.
Yeah.
And as much as there is a requirement to be so-and-so or pressures to do so-and-so, if your voice finally does not get resonated amongst the people, then your views don't come in. Is that fair remark to make?
Yes, that is true. But I am not somebody who looks at AI as a villain. Yes, the human element is gone. It is also enabling a lot of people to be able to write in English when they wouldn't have the confidence to write in English. In our newsrooms, we would sit and laugh at a journalist who can't formulate, a tweet, can't formulate a sentence in proper grammatical English. So it's like, "Arey, Renan Martin pad lo, arey, thesaurus khol lo, open the dictionary. You don't even know this much." That kind of condescending attitude that many of us have had. I'm not saying I did it, but I'm just saying, when I say us, I mean generically. We would laugh at people who couldn't write proper English. We at least had that, the luck, I will say, nothing else, that our parents could send us to schools where we learned how to write in English. But there are people who have come into journalism who couldn't write properly, even a leave letter. Camera persons, BT editors, they're able to write. So a graphics artist is able to churn out faster. So content, they're able to do the back end faster. What is necessary, yes, is not to just copy paste what AI is doing and putting out there. Elon Musk has today said that the medical profession is going to get changed completely. You're going to have, like you have robotic surgeries, you're going to have everything done by robots, right? So everything is going to change as we are. So either we adopt it and we put in the human element, or we just say, this is not something. You remember the time when grandmothers of us said, I can't handle the remote control. Fast forward martiya, rewind martiya. I can't do it, right? You must have seen that period.
Yeah.
Today, your grandmother is faster with her WhatsApp group in the good morning and thing.
Yeah.
ಹೇಗೆ ಕಲ್ತಿರೋದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ?
True.
So they learnt it, no?
True.
So we can't sit and say AI ಕಲಿಯುವುದಿಲ್ಲ.
Sure.
You know, we have to learn it, we have to master it, otherwise it will master
And
us.
how has it changed your podcasting, your newsroom? How has it impacted
So the
media?
first time, Surabhi, was when I was interviewing Sadhguru a couple of years back, and he said, that is an AI question. I was like, you know, what an insult. Then I just looked back and I said, I have not used AI. So I said it in a little annoyed way. And then I remembered 15 years back, I said this to some reporter. I said, you have Googled it. With such a negative, snarly look, saying you have Googled it. And Googling became normal, no? So if Sadhguru said to me, you AI'd it, he wasn't meaning it as an insult. He just caught on probably, but I hadn't used AI.
This is such a Sadhguru insight to look at it as a cup half full instead of half empty also.
Yeah, but he's somebody who, like Mr. Modi, absorbs technology very quickly, you know. So I met the Prime Minister after I think 5 or 6 episodes which had gone, and I thought nobody's even watching it, you know, like my first, because I didn't know how to make reels and put it on Instagram or Facebook. I hadn't done any of that sort. I just was, what I was doing kind of a thing, you know. So I met him on some occasion and he looked at me and he said, very good initiative that you're doing. I'm also doing. So I said, yeah, I watch your, that Man Ki Baat that I said, I picked up on a lot of that, but I don't have the gyan to give. So I'm getting gyanis to come and give the gyan on my shoot. That's the only difference. But he had watched it, and he's a great user of technology himself.
Thank you. That's something that we're very proud of as a country as well as a party, that we have a Prime Minister who quickly adapts. And it's an example that we give so many people that if the Prime Minister has caught on, then, you know, we have no excuses. As a quick show of hands, is there anybody here, or let me take it the other way. How many people here have watched the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash?
Okay, thank you very much. Do like and subscribe.
Which was your favorite episode?
I cannot say this. This is like asking a mom who's your favorite child, even though she has a favorite child. But no, I cannot pick and choose. And frankly, once I've finished an episode and I go home and my family asks, kya baat hui? What did you? I said, for heaven's sake, don't talk, because I'm just totally drained out. I don't know what conversation I've had, but I can just say this, that there isn't a single episode that I have shot which I didn't enjoy the conversation. Like I came back feeling, maza nahi aaya, you know. Whereas when I do news, sometimes it happens. And it basically happens with celebrities who are too controlled by PR agencies, who are so scared to say anything which can be turned into meme material, can be trolled. And I don't blame them, because social media has become such an ugly place that they get trolled by whatever they might say, do, and unintentionally, you know. So I don't blame them. I try and as much as I can to break that shield that they have around them, you know. And like a friend of mine, she says, तुम बहुत smile करती हो ना, तो defenses नीचे हो जाती हैं. Don't try that trick with us.
But maybe that's absolutely true, right? Having a one-on-one or a 1+2 conversation versus being on screen where you're being pushed to say something. You're being, there's that instigation that's constantly happening versus the platform where somebody genuinely wants to know. Yeah. Has anybody told you you're a fantastic listener? And that's what helps them open up.
I think that is that's my upbringing, where we were told to listen to elders, we were told to listen to gurus, we were told to absorb. And like I was listening to one of the sessions, so you debate, but after the vichar. Vimarsh comes after the vichar. So first absorb the vichar and then do the vimarsh. Do the discussion after you have gained a little bit of knowledge and you are able to absorb it, make sense of it, and then you have an opinion. To suddenly spout opinions is a new phenomenon. I'm not saying hamare zamane mein, or that I don't want to age myself like that, but it is true that the urge to immediately have an opinion is so great. And if you can't have an opinion, then use AI to get an opinion. Quickly formulate an opinion. Why? I've seen that we would go to press conferences, two people are speaking, giving a press conference, and one day I came back and saying, 1 hour press conference, I have nothing to report, it was so dull, it was so boring. And then at that time, the editor told me there is no boring press conference, there's no boring story. You have just not picked up. Wait for half an hour and see how your rival is able to pick up news. And sure enough, my rival was able to pick up the news element, which means that I was not listening. I was hearing, but I was not listening. So the training was good. I had an editor who taught me that listen to what is doing and make notes. And this is something that I tell young media students also. And I tell not just that, when I have my conversation with my mother also, I tell her this, that one way to beat aging is to listen when the other person is saying, not decide what my next question will be.
I'm trying.
It happens, right? Yeah. It happens because we are absorbing and so I notice many times that I go to college campuses when I'm talking, the kids are quickly saying, I have Smita Prakash sitting on the podium, what can I ask? And then Fatak said 2 people will ask the same questions because AI has thrown the same questions, to them. But yeah, it happens. It happens.
I was consciously thinking, usually we have a piece of paper, or we have something that we've noted down.
You and I know each other, no need.
But it's really a tough thing to do amongst younger generation, as well as a lot of people in our homes, the senior citizens, scrolling, looking at our phone, constant information coming at us like never before. It's a tough thing to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving you, I'm not giving you all of this credit merely for it. But I think even an audience dipstick survey would tell us that there's a lot of different platforms, but we go to yours to cut the clutter.
Thank you.
We go to you to have a, whether going from office to home or working out, it's an easier conversation sometimes, not the other times. For example, if you've seen latest with Sai Deepak was anybody from coastal Karnataka, Mangaluru, the conversation on demographic change was a tough one to sit through. Yeah. What is it that you look for in a conversation? Or do you just, as you said right now, you sit with the person and that's about it?
No, I kind of like the clutter, Surabhi. Cut the Clutter is Shekhar Gupta, so please do watch. I don't want him to feel that. But anyway, no, I like the clutter. I like that everything is there and then sift through that and get to the core issue that I want to discuss with. About listening in, lots of people tell me that we listen to the conversations when we are driving, when we are sitting in the train, going to Bombayites would tell me, Mumbaikars, not Bombayites, before I get trolled, who are going to work, they listen in. The best was, I'm sure Sunita Shekhawat will not mind me saying this, she told me she used to have sleep problems and she'd listen to the podcast and she'd fall asleep. Now, I don't know whether that is a positive or a negative, but she said that she listens to the podcast and puts her in a calm space and then she can sleep through the night. So, but I'm sure Sai Deepak's episode did not put her to sleep. So there are episodes which are disturbing, but that's even with news. Like there are stories which I have covered, which when I went and I covered that, and it shocks you, it bothers you, and you come out and you say that why is our country still at a stage where there is this kind of abject poverty? Why can't people do this faster? Like I went to cover Bihar elections, and And one of the politicians was telling me how Biharis are very content people, and he said it like it's a positive. You know, it's something which is there even with Kannadigas. Let me say this. It's there with us. We are content with what we have. You know, as a people. I'm not saying that there is no entrepreneurial spirit. There is. That's the reason why banking, tourism, medical, all these professions have, become so big from Karnataka, from Mangaluru especially. But what I'm saying is that at home, we are content. Undu palya, have the rice, and that's enough. Eating out was something which came in maybe 15 or 20 years ago, 15 years ago probably. Illadre, where, hardly anything. We just ate, we were happy. We didn't think about going abroad for holidays. You went to Dharmasthala, that was it. Your parents took you there and it finished. That was the vacation that you had, So we are a very content people. So coming back to what I was saying was, we went to Bihar, I went to Bihar, and the politician was saying, and I got annoyed with him. And usually I don't, but I got annoyed and I said that this is not a positive. That people of Bihar are happy that for 3 terms they have elected you and they like you because there is continuity. It's not continuity. You need to do something. Their situation is abject and they think that they don't even have the desire to dream of becoming, an Andhra Pradesh or becoming a UP even, They think it's okay. Someday we will do well. I said, don't take their contentment as something which is giving you guarantee of continuing in power. No. Do something, wake them up, ask them to demand it of you. So these are things which bother me, that I had thought that in my lifetime, at least, I won't have to do stories of abject poverty in my country. But I still have to. I still see it. It still bothers me that this will not be over during my lifetime. I want that to end as soon as possible. And I'm hoping that I still am in journalism and I still don't bring cynicism to my profession, and I still have hope from generations of politicians that they will be able to change and that Antyodaya actually comes true.
I do believe that deserves a round of applause. When you see stories that, when you're constantly in touch with negatives, that cynicism does set in, right? And to see that coming out, not just in your words, but also in your work is very encouraging. But I do want to come back to the Kannadiga point before both you and I get trolled, which is that you told me this, that not many people know she's a Kannadiga. That's, people assume you're Punjabi because you're married in
Do not get me angry.
I'll ask you 2 questions. The most amazing conversation you've had with a Kannadiga on the podcast. And the second one, how much of our community, our language, this regional identity that we carry has played to your benefit or your disadvantage in Delhi?
Okay, so I am a Horanadu Kannadiga, right? In the sense that my family has roots here. My father is from the Inna Karkala area. My mother is from the Puttur area. But both of them have not lived here since the 1950s. My father moved out. So I was born in Bombay. It was known as Bombay then. I have never lived here. But my parents were very particular that we spoke the language. So at home, my brother and I spoke Kannada. My parents, which I think most of you would know this, right? Parents spoke to each other in Tulu and spoke to their children in Kannada or vice versa, thinking that we won't know what they are saying. So it was a bilingual family so I learned Tulu because I was not supposed to learn Tulu. So my grandparents spoke Tulu with each other, spoke Kannada to the children. And so they did the same thing, but I learned how to understand and speak a little bit of Tulu. Because my grandparents spoke Tulu and my mother's side of the family speaks Tulu. and my father's side of this family speaks Kannada. So they were very particular that we spoke it. My grandmothers used to come to Delhi in summers and not in winters. So we had a lot, and summer vacations would be to come Hodigere. So we would come here. We would be, I have relatives in Mangalore, I have relatives in Beltangadi and all these places. So we would spend our summers out here. So a lot of connection with Uru. And then go back. Now, I'll tell you some of the instances which I don't know whether you people will understand it or not. So living in the north, I was always conscious that I'm not a North Indian. I'm a South Indian. Living in the south, I was always conscious that I'm not a South Indian, I'm a North Indian. And it was simple things like after 1 week of eating Anna Saru, I wanted my chapati. You know, so my grandmother learned how to make chapati and would make chapati. Living in Uru, I would want one kodlu. You know, I would want that manoli ajitna, tondekai palya, you know, and you don't get tondekai in Delhi. So somebody would come from Uru and bring it for us. So there was always this life, two kinds of lives. Then I get married to a Punjabi and they could never figure out, but tu to Punjabi bolti hai, like what is wrong with you? Where is the South Indian in you? And there are many of my friends who are saying, you're so Punjabi. No, I'm not. I'm not Punjabi in any way, but I love it. I love the Punjabi culture who they just take in everybody. They don't say you are not one of us, which is not the case with many other cultures. You know, they immediately say you are not one of us. You are a Hindi speaking person, you are a Punjabi speaking person, you are a Haryanvi, Bengalis also have it, Kannadigas also have it. They are not as assimilating as Punjabis are. As much as I make fun of Punjabis, I love this about them, that they immediately take you within their fold and they make you one among them. They don't make you feel an outsider at all. And that is something that I appreciate, that I like that. My brother studied in Davangere, and he used to also feel at that time there was this feeling that the Horanadu Kannadigas are taking away our medical seats. So there was this aggression against him. So he used to have these arguments with my father that you taught us Kannada, you taught us Tulu, you taught us that we are Kannadigas, and here we come and we are treated as North Indians. That conflict was there all through when he was studying medicine, that he was never considered one here. So my father taught it for both of us to be very adapting to cultures. So when I have a Jesai Deepak, I try and become an Andhraite. When I have Abhijit Iyer Mitra, I become a Tamilian. When I have, Yediyurappa, I become a Kannadiga. Or Siddaramaiah, I become a Kannadiga. Or D.K. Shivkumar, I become a Kannadiga. Right? So it's okay. I am everything and I'm an Indian.
Wonderful. I've forgotten my next question. You've succeeded. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
I will not pick, sir. I don't pick and choose. I value each guest of mine. And no, I really don't want to pick, because if I pick a celebrity, then I think sometimes the politician has given me more content. Sometimes an interview with a completely non-celebrity person, not a politician, not a celebrity, not a singer, not a dancer, they have given me such amazing interviews. So sometimes common people have the best things to say in life. So I won't pick and choose a favorite.
Fantastic. Last few questions and then we can open up to the audience. Last one question, actually. The toughest, I know I asked you your favorite, but I'm trying to get at least the toughest, or the one that had real world impact that you felt moved you. I'll give you a minute to think and contextualize the question, which is that, like I said, we're all on our phones, we're doom scrolling, we're looking at different content. We are, many of us, content creators wondering, when did the world change so much that this is what we have to do to put out a piece of information? But we do live in this era, we've accepted this era. And in the midst of all of this, it's not just on our screen, but it can make difference in our lives. Where have you felt that? It could be a particular conversation, it could be somebody from the audience who's come up and spoken to you. You mentioned a very interesting tidbit, which was that in Singapore, Smita Prakash podcast is part of required reading for a course in a university. They are learning through her podcast. They're learning about India and South Asia through her podcast. So one of these things that really, really moved you, or you felt, wow, I didn't just start a YouTube channel, I started something of a movement.
So, I've been doing interviews way before it got cast as a podcast. So let me just tell you that, in the years that I've been doing, I can't pick and choose what impact it would have. I would think in popularity terms, of course, it would be the interview with Narendra Modi, which I did, which was pre-podcast. I didn't realize it at that time that it would become so big. And okay, I can just give you a background, which I've never spoken about this before, but I'll tell you about it today, that I had gone to interview him. And this was before he was even declared a Prime Minister candidate. And when I told him that, I've come from Delhi and I want to do an interview with you. I had gone to do other stories as well. He was Chief Minister then. And he said, whatever you want, you can ask me, but don't ask me if I want to come to Delhi. So I said, I will not do an interview if you tell me, don't ask me this. So he was like, I'm not ready to answer that right now. So I said, okay, so when will you tell it? I thought tomorrow so he said, when I'm ready to answer that, I will give you the first interview. I forgot about it. I came back to Delhi and from Ahmedabad, and I forgot. I didn't bother to reconnect with him. And a year later, I get a call from his office, and he's ready to answer that question of yours, so you can come to Ahmedabad. And then I went out there, and then by then he had already been declared as the Prime Minister candidate. So that interview, I think, had a tremendous impact, and people saw it, because for some time I had stopped doing political interviews. I was doing external affairs, and I was doing international, and I was reporting for a Singapore channel, I was reporting for Japanese channel, and I was doing other things. So when I did this political interview, it got a lot of impact. But there were other things that I did. I got a call once and I said, Haji Mastan aapko interview dena chahte hain. So I thought it's a fraud. This was before cell phone era. So I went and asked the editor, I said, can I go? So he said, yeah, sure, go. So you sit in front of, somebody who has done organized crime, and you just wonder, how do you sit? He's a murderer, a mass murderer, if you want to say, or whatever, who's trying to turn legit. You have to make sure your platform is not being used to give that legitimacy to what he has done. So I asked him every single question regarding that. But I also came out feeling that uncomfortable feeling that, did I get used? I interviewed a stone pelter who was trying to turn legit. And I spoke this in another podcast, I said this, that I sat with him, and I know he sent children who threw stones in Srinagar, some of who were blinded, some of who tear gas came in and they were maimed and they have all kinds of issues. And this man sitting in front of me, his wife and little children, pouring me tea and giving me tea, and I'm sitting there and thinking that, am I getting used? Am I getting used? Giving him legitimacy. Now that he's turned a politician, now that he's trying to become legit, he's somebody who has done this. And then I have to put that judgment part of me behind me. If the people are going to vote for him, if he has decided to turn a leaf, who am I to judge him? He has decided that is past. It is the judiciary which should bring him to justice. It's not my job. The same with Indrani Mukherjee, I don't think I need to go in. Indrani Mukherjee came on the podcast. And my mother was the first one to tell me that she murdered her daughter, she said. Why are you giving her a platform? I'm not going to watch that episode, she said. I said, if she's murdered her daughter, she would be in jail. She would have served a prison term. The judiciary has not declared her a criminal. Who am I? She's come on the platform. I've asked her the straight up question, did you kill your daughter? I've asked her the question, repeatedly asked her the question. That's my job. After that, it's for the viewer to decide whether they believe her or not. And the judiciary to decide whether she's guilty or not my job.
You mentioned, Smita, in our informal conversations that sometimes after you've done interviewing somebody, it gets a little heavy, it's a lot of thought to process. I hope you're not feeling that way today because I am slightly like, oh wow, these are a lot of different thoughts. But thank you so much for sharing never before discussed insights with us. We'll quickly go to a round of questions. I think we can do 3 questions, and please end it with a question mark, not with a exclamation or a full stop.
स्मिता जी नमस्कार, मैं डॉक्टर इंदुकांत दीक्षित हूँ, प्रेस ट्रस्ट ऑफ इंडिया से
जी।
आपने प्राइम मिनिस्टर के और होम मिनिस्टर अमित शाह जी के इंटरव्यूज़ किए हैं, कई बार इंटरेक्शंस किए हैं, बहुत अच्छे इंटरेक्शंस हैं। लेकिन जो आपके विरोधी खेमे के जर्नलिज्म में भी लोग हैं, वो कहते हैं कि उसमें बहुत सारा पार्ट प्लांटेड होता है, क्वेश्चंस पहले से दिए होते हैं, आंसर भी तैयार होते हैं। तो एक तो मेरा सवाल था कि इसके बारे में आपका क्या कहना है? ट्रोलिंग तो होता है, बट इतने कूल जो आपके सवाल और जवाब होते हैं, क्या वो उतने ही कूल हैं कि बिहाइंड द कर्टेन कुछ और भी प्रिपरेशन होता है?
थैंक यू।
आप पीटीआई से हैं तो आप ये मेरे से सवाल पूछे तो मैं ये प्लांटेड सवाल सोचूं कि क्या, क्योंकि for those who don't know, PTI is my rival channel, okay? It's like Ravish being asked a question by Arnab. So let me, मैं हिंदी में जवाब दूंगी आपको। तो अगर आप ये पूछना चाहते हैं कि क्या अमित शाह जी ने या मोदी जी ने मुझे डांटा इंटरव्यू के पहले या इंटरव्यू के बाद कि ये सवाल क्यों पूछा, नहीं,
क्वेश्चंस भी पहले से मंगाते हैं कई।
तो आपके जो संपादक हैं उन्होंने भी इंटरव्यू किया है, तो मेरा मशवरा होगा कि आप अपने संपादक से पूछिए क्या उन्होंने भी सवाल पहले दिए थे या उन्हें सवाल दिए गए थे। धन्यवाद।
Thank you.
इसी से जुड़ा हुआ एक और
नहीं, please. Let us allow, especially from a journalist who gets to ask question all the time, we'll give an opportunity to somebody else. I see a young woman there. I'm biased. Yes.
Hello, ma'am. I love your podcast, especially Samosa Caucus. I wanted to ask, given that there's a lot of bias in journalists, as you said, how do we as young people make sure that with a limited attentions that we have for politics and all, how do we make sure that we are not dragged into a knowledge echo chamber?
Thank you so much. It's a lovely question, sweetheart. This is something that I answer in every school, college that I go. What has happened is that the news that comes to us comes through an algorithm now. The more clicks you do of a certain kind of news, your feed will become only that, right? So if you're clicking kitten videos, then kitten videos will come, right? So you have to guard yourself against that. So consume news. See, traditional media, no, we still have our firewalls. We still have reporters, we still have sub-editors, editors. So when a reporter brings a news, it goes through several firewalls before it gets pasted onto our news site. So when you open Times of India, I'm sure you don't open the physical newspaper, your parents do it. What do? Your parents are doing the right thing. Let me tell you this, let me bust that myth for you. When they open the newspaper, they're reading everything. They're reading what they like, what they don't like. Both things are coming in that newspaper. What does Deccan Herald do? The Deccan Herald news editors have every side of the picture in their newspaper. Now, their website will also have that. They have a pro-BJP story, an anti-BJP story, a pro-AAP story, a pro-Congress story, an anti, they will have all that. But when you are clicking it through their website, the algorithm will determine this. They are not taking that choice for you. So it's important for you as youngsters to consume news from various places, regardless of your bias. So once you get a lot of information, absorb it like a sponge. And once you absorb it, then formulate. And because of one wrong story or one wrong reporting by one newspaper or one website, don't ban that away. There could be one bad day for that newspaper. But I still feel traditional media has many more firewalls than a YouTube or a Facebook or certainly not Instagram.
Very important to be said to any of the Gen Z. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. I'm a big fan of your podcast, your work.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you're doing a great work.
Thank you.
I actually have 3 questions, one out of curiosity and 2 conjoined questions. The first question is, as an ardent, TV viewer or podcast viewer, news reader, geopolitical, I have keen interest in. But if somebody asks me to list the names, I'm not even talking about the favorite journalists, the names of the journalists that I remember, maybe I'll be able to write maximum 1 page or maybe half a page, many people do not know. But if you see the other professions like sports, movies and things like that, many celebrities are there, many well-known people are there. Why do you think that journalism doesn't have those many people when it comes to recognizing people or being, talked about and things? So apart from the beauty and the controversy, what do you think that a quality in a journalist to be? This is first question. And second question.
So we'll leave it to one question, please.
I mean, it's a conjoined question.
That's okay, sir. One question.
It's for the youngsters.
Let me answer that,
Yeah.
and then we'll get to it. So I am very happy that you don't know the names of journalists. We should not be the news. This is the mistake that's happening. We should not be the news at all. That television changed all that. I did my best reporting when nobody knew who I was.
My second question
Sir,
was connected to
sir,
that.
my
So for the
sincere
youngsters
request.
to be aspiring to join this profession, because father of media communication child, what do I show them, or tell the other people what
That
they
there are
should
hardly any
aspire
jobs.
for?
Please tell them that.
Yeah. So what is the future of journalism?
There are
coming?
hardly any jobs in journalism. They have, if your daughter or son is in media studies, they have to learn a language, they have to learn tech, they have to learn business journalism, they have to learn and equip themselves with as many, what in our generation, yours and mine, was called co-curricular activities. It is co-curricular activities which has brought me to where I am today.
Okay. Sorry, I've lost the control to give the mic because it's going around by itself. Just come back. One last question from here. Haley.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you for the talk. So my question is about, how the attention span.
Yeah.
It has pivoted in a way, if you were to compare journalism to social media and podcasts and things like that, there's a certain sort of pivot of attention which has gone towards social media and podcasts also. So, and podcasts in general are more candid. So I think that has kind of like a role to play also, you can kind of see it in a different perspective. So the question is when you do these podcasts with such renowned people, politicians or different people, is there a sense of responsibility that you feel towards the people when you speak to these renowned people? And if there is, how do you implement them in your podcast? Thank you.
Yeah, difficult question. I don't know whether I do make my questions. I have about 25 questions in front of me on my iPad. If you've watched the podcast and if you're not listening, if you're watching it on YouTube, you'll see I have my iPad in front of me. That is just because I'm a generation which is petrified and mortified of the CBSE syllabus and 10th board exam. So, for me, I have a kunji, I have a guide in front of me. But I never use it. I hardly ever go to the questions which I have made up. I'm sure Surabhi's done the same. So I ask questions which I feel that most Indians would want out of that. So sometimes those questions are completely junked because, and I don't speak with my guests much before. The most difficult thing is to know your guest beforehand, because then I feel I've had conversations. Like when Samosa Caucus, which is it seems like that's the most popular one, they're all my friends. So, we discuss these things over dinner, over addas, over conversations. We've had these conversations. It's just that now I'm putting it on camera. And I've got trolled a lot, and all of us have got trolled for that caucus. But the responsibility, I am not somebody who takes me very seriously. It doesn't weigh down on my shoulders all that much. I'm just a small cog in the wheel. I'm just doing a show. I'm running a news agency. If I can do something good while doing this, I'm happy about that. I don't think I'm making so much of a difference.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I'll make it very quick. This SS Factor has created success already. Post-lunch, it was a very gripping session.
Thank you.
My question is on the subject matter, how digital storytelling is reshaping. 2% of the narrative, 2% of the particular ideology people are driving 98% of the ideology, narrative. So that's actually, misleading many at times and is giving cascading effect. So with your 3+ decades of experience, what are the 2 steps required to change or break that barrier?
Interesting. I don't know where the 2% part came in from. Do you have a source where you've come from the 2%?
I'm not from any source, but 2% generally.
That's your view?
Yeah.
Okay. So that I've busted?
The reddish communist.
So the 2%, I don't know where the 2%
factor,
is.
yeah.
So no, the reason you would say 2% is because you don't agree with a certain, I'm guessing you don't agree with the leftist ideology. So if you don't agree with the leftist ideology, you would consider them not worthy of. In my view, even a 0.1% view, whether it is left or right, deserves a voice. The reason I'm saying this, sir, is because I have lived through a time when the right ideology, when I was criticized because I was giving voice to the right ideology. Okay? So I was criticized for that and said, don't do this because it is detrimental for the country if they ever come to power. So I didn't listen to them then. I'm not going to listen to you now. So I feel that all ideologies have space in this country. Our founding fathers decided on that. To me, the democracy that we are, the noisier democracy we are, it's a healthier democracy. I don't want to ban any voices. I don't believe in that. Yes, if a certain ideology gets a total grip on it and it is taking the country towards a negative side in the sense of combustion, that would bother me. But if that combustion is not happening, and if we are leading towards progress, and progress, I don't mean that we have constructed X number of temples or X number of churches or X number of mosques, depending on the ideology. That's not how I'm seeing it. I just mean good for maximum number of people, where we are not standing in line for education. We are not standing in line for a train ticket. Things are accessible to us. Where education is accessible to parents, where they don't have to take loans probably for even basic needs, for health. So if that good is coming about by left and right happening at the same time, I believe in giving platform to all voices. So I don't believe in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Smita. On this very same stage, Meenakshi Jain, she told us something yesterday, which was that there was a time where it was very difficult for her books to get published.
I know this, Surabhi, simply because she's a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
I have seen her, like she used the word, not my word, jaddo-jahad. I have seen how she has, and it's amazing. And I'm so proud that the Mangalore Lit Fest felicitated her yesterday. I'm so happy because I have seen how she has fought for this. Since the day I got married, I have seen, because she's my neighbor in, I mean, since I moved to this area, I've seen how she comes from such a illustrious family, but she fought for this. And I'm very, very happy that she has got her space in the sun today.
Fantastic. So great to hear that. Tying that out, and the last thing that Smita told us, which was that there was a time where you yourself were criticized for platforming certain views that were considered right. And today we're talking about views that are left and how do we want to platform them or not. And the answer that you gave, which was that they did that, doesn't mean I'm going to do the same.
Sorry, I'm taking a couple of seconds more. This thing just reminded me, Surabhi, which I'm again going to bust another myth. This thing about, there was a YouTube a podcaster I saw just last week who said, स्मिता प्रकाश अब एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्ट्री के लोगों को इंटरव्यू करने लग गई है और डिफेंस मिनिस्टर के, दिस वाज हर टोन, डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री के लोगों को इंटरव्यू करने लग गई है, वो तो नोन लेफ्टिस्ट है, अब ये राइटिस्ट एटीट्यूड ले रही है. एंड आई वाज लाइक, माय लाइफ हैज कम अ फुल सर्कल. Nice. I'm called leftist, I'm called rightist. I'm enjoying this phase of my life.
But that simple thought that just because a wrong has been done to us, does that mean that's the same wrong we're going to perpetuate? Is an interesting question, interesting thought to leave us with. And since you had a very last thought which needed more time, I would suggest a podcast about Smita Prakash, which goes on for 2 hours, is something she should encourage, and a moderator is very willing to do it as well. Having said that, in an era where so many of us have been hooked to podcasts and age no barrier, we must absolutely celebrate that the top podcaster who has 30 years of media and newsroom experience, therefore bringing all that experience to the digital media, is none other than Smita Prakash, who traces her roots right here to Dakshin Kannada, to Udupi, to Chikmagalur. And on that note, a pride of ours, if not, and somebody, by the way, the organizers will attest to this, through these years has been unflinching in her support to this region. Not only is she here for Mangalore Lit Fest, she's also here for Thai Mangaluru. And we use that very consciously to invite other guests. We say, Smita Prakash has agreed. Will you come as well? So a champion for our cause, and thank you so much for gracing the stage again and again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for our speaker, Smita Prakash, for wonderfully taking out the session. It was really thought-provoking, ma'am. And thank you to our moderator, Surabhi Hodigere, for taking this session. Now I call forward Mr. Ishwar Shetty, the member of Mangalore Lit Fest, to give away the token of gratitude to our speaker, Miss Smita Prakash. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Also to give away the token of gratitude to Surabhi Hodigere for wonderfully taking the session. Thank you so much.